welcome the Right Honourable Minister, the Secretary of State for Commonwealth and Foreign Affairs UK to Government College University. And it's not very often that we have guests of this caliber and status visiting us. So it's a real honor for us, and it's a proud moment for Government College University to have him here. So just a few words of introduction. Maybe you people already know that the Right Honourable Boris Johnson has been a Member of Parliament since 2001, and then he was elected Mayor of London twice, and now again he's a Member of Parliament and is serving as Secretary Foreign Affairs. So I just want to make a small clarification. When the British say Secretary, they mean the Minister, unlike us, because when we say Secretary, it means the senior-most bureaucrat. So for them, the senior-most bureaucrat would be the Under-Secretary, am I right, sir? Permanent Secretary. Okay. So this is rather a bit confusing for us, so I just thought I'd clarify. And so he's one of the most prominent British politicians at the moment, and he's been active in the Brexit, for Britain leaving the European Union, and maybe he'll talk about it. And so, sir, as I was telling you, and as briefly introduced by Mr. Rawan, we are the oldest institution for modern education in northwest India, in the northwest of the subcontinent. In fact, we predate many of the colleges of Delhi, and I think the few colleges or universities which are older than us are Fort William College in Calcutta, Presidency College in Bombay, and a college or university in Madras. So we cater to a lot of the public, of the entire northwest of the subcontinent. And many prominent people have studied here, have taught here. Amongst them, the most famous, Muhammad Iqbal, Allama Iqbal, our poet laureate, and we've produced two Nobel laureates, Hargobind Khurana, who got the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, in medicine in the 60s. So he was a student in the chemistry department over here, and at partition he left for the States and then continued to work over there. And then, of course, Professor Abdus Salam, who was the Nobel laureate in physics in the 70s. He not only studied here, but he came and worked over here for some time till he was invited back to go back to Cambridge, and then he went on to Imperial College and so on. Apart from this, I mean, there's a whole galaxy of people who've studied here. So we are really proud of our history, and I think our history is also reflected in the buildings that you see over here. And I think there is no better place to welcome the British Foreign Secretary than this Government College University, because really I think this marks the beginning of a relationship which continues till today. And many of us have worked or studied in England, and many of our students still go to England to study, and many return to come and teach over here. So it has been a very long and fruitful relationship. So I will not take up more of your time, and the Foreign Secretary is here, and he will address you and talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chancellor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and can I just say what a wonderful time my whole delegation has been having here in Pakistan over the last couple of days, and I want to pay a particular tribute to the government of Pakistan, and also, of course, to the administration here in Punjab for the kindness with which we are being treated. And apologise to all those who've been delayed in traffic as a result of the great efforts that have been made to help us. Many, many thanks for your kindness and for your courtesy. It's amazing to be here in this wonderful, inspiring seat of learning, Mr. Vice-Chancellor, and this is my first visit to Lahore. I'm almost embarrassed to say, and what an extraordinary city it is. I've discovered, I used to be Mayor of London, as some of you may dimly remember, and I am not surprised to discover that Lahore is now bigger than London, 10 million people. But what I was even more surprised to discover was that Lahore was already bigger than London when London was the centre of the world, or so I thought, in the 17th century. Because you had 2 million inhabitants then, and Lahore was bigger than Paris. It was even bigger than Constantinople. And there was a guy who came from London. Our honorary consul may want to correct me there, but I think I'm right in saying there was a guy who came from London called a trader called William Finch, and you remember this guy. He came to Lahore, and he was absolutely overwhelmed, and he wrote about the size and the success of the city and the glories of the fort that I've just seen this morning with Aija, and he said, the walls and ceilings are overlaid with pure gold, showing that the Mughal emperors had a taste for beautiful bling, rather like some other leaders I can think of today. And below these are drawn many pictures of the king's ancestors, of Akbar, his father Humayun, his grandfather, and Babur, his great-grandfather. Now, who paid for those golden treasures? What economic phenomenon enabled them to be created? I'll tell you, Finch came to Lahore with a consignment of a consignment of indigo. A consignment of indigo, which is you use to make jeans and stuff. No, they didn't have jeans in those days, but anyway, it was blue dye. And he found here in Lahore, listening to the word on the market, that there was a higher price to be had for his indigo in Aleppo. And so he sent it off straight down the Silk Road, long before anybody had used the word globalization. He could come to this city, an Englishman, could come to Lahore and then send his wares down the Silk Road, quite a long way to Aleppo from here, for sale in the Middle East. So 4 centuries ago, Lahore was the centre of an intricate web of trade routes that spanned the whole globe. And that is really my theme for you today. Britain, Pakistan share an old friendship and ties of history. We also share a vision of Pakistan becoming once again a hub of trade and commerce that its geography demands, and I know that its people are ambitious to achieve. And there are few better illustrations of the friendship between our two countries than this remarkable institution. Government College University was established by British administrators over 150 years ago. One of your greatest sons, Sir Allama Muhammad Iqbal, was, as everybody knows here, a scholar of Islam, an Urdu poet, and an intellectual inspiration behind the movement which led to the birth of Pakistan. He also read law at Trinity College, Cambridge, and practiced as a barrister in London, and received a knighthood from King George V. And he saw no contradiction in any of this in his own time, and nor, frankly, should we today. In the year that marks the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's death, I was particularly moved to discover a century ago that Iqbal wrote a perceptive tribute to our bard. He said, "With your own eyes, you saw the world exposed and bare. Nature guards its mysteries so jealously, it will never again create one who knows so many secrets." So in those words, you can see how a genius from Stratford in England inspired a genius from Lahore. And the ties between Pakistan and Britain since that time have of course become only closer. Many of you have family links with the UK. I can see some of you nodding. Just as my own wife does with Pakistan. Indeed, it is my ambition to make UK-Pakistan relations as close as those between me and my in-laws, which are already, of course, very good. Today, the British High Commission in Islamabad is one of our biggest diplomatic missions in the world. And the UK aid programme in Pakistan is our biggest, the biggest. 375 million, I think 420 million pounds per year. No fewer than 1.2 million Britons, that's 2% of our population, trace their heritage to Pakistan. And of course amongst them are members of parliament, successful pop stars, journalists, sportsmen, business people, scientists, scholars, you name it, Mr. Vice-Chancellor. And symmetrically, this building, the monuments of so many Pakistani cities serve as a reminder of our own British contribution to this part of the world. And we can see it in the architecture, in the cricket that unites our country in the whole of South Asia. It wouldn't be a fine thing if we had the English cricket team here. I think so. I can't promise everything, but we'll see what we can do. There's a mild ripple of applause for that idea over there. And yet there is one legacy that has faded since the days of that great traveller and entrepreneur and indigo salesman, William Finch. I'm struck by how in trading and economic terms, South Asia remains one of the least interconnected parts of the world. Pakistan embraces the geographical heart of Asia. India, with over 1 billion people, is only about 15 miles away. To the west, Afghanistan, Iran, with a combined population of more than 100 million, and further northwest are the energy-rich states of Central Asia. Pakistan is the natural junction between all these huge markets and the immense resources at their command. And yet, we must accept that neither Pakistan nor the region has matched the ancient genius of the Silk Roads by constructing the modern links from east to west, and from west to east, that are so sorely needed. South Asia has so much in common, and yet its nations cooperate relatively so little. And the price is high. There are restraints, we all know them, holding back economic growth, helping to keep millions in poverty. In the shadow of the world's highest mountains, the rivers of South Asia run through green plains of the subcontinent with no regard themselves for man-made border controls, in a physical metaphor for what might be commercially possible. And there are few locations in the world with such opportunities for trade. There is a sense in which this was the place where the whole idea began, with the rulers of the Indus Valley civilization. 3 millennia ago, they had the vision to extend their trade links not only across Asia, but as far away as the Hellenistic world. This land then served as the crossroads for silk, tea, spices, gold, and warriors and diplomats who quarreled or sold those things. And the outcome was a cross-fertilization, a flowering of culture and language, and of course the very language closer to our own time in which Iqbal composed his poetry. And so the lessons are as true today as they were then. Nations succeed, and it goes for our nation, the UK, as much as for Pakistan, when they are open and outward looking. Free trade serves as an engine not only of economic success, but of progress. So I'm very excited by the China-Pakistan economic corridor ideas. And I hope very much that they get going, and I also hope, by the way, that UK firms get a chance to participate in the construction of these fabulous ventures. But this should be part of an even more ambitious vision that would revive the ancient Silk Roads and see the rebirth of trading caravans connecting east and west. Karachi, even bigger than Lahore. 23 million, the sixth biggest city in the world. History, location, suggests that Karachi should be one of Asia's biggest trading entrepôts, alongside Singapore or Shanghai. And the only way to achieve that goal is closer economic integration. And I believe Britain can help play a part in helping you to realize that ambition. In recent years, Pakistan has made huge progress. National security is improved. The roots of democracy have been strengthened. One civilian government took over from another civilian government in a manner that was peaceful and constitutional. But of course, we all know that Pakistan continues to face a grave threat from terrorism, and that has imposed a terrible sacrifice on this country. Tens of thousands of people have been killed, ancient communities destroyed, and the nation's resources needlessly consumed by the struggle against violent extremism. And I feel that as a result, this nation's ambition has too often been held back by rivalry and mistrust. And coming here today over the last day or so, talking to all the people that I have, I'm increasingly confident that this is changing and that you in this country are embracing the opportunities around you. And all I want to say, my message to you students, scholars here at this great university, and to everybody in Pakistan, is that Britain wants to be with you as you make this journey, as indeed we have been with you in the past. And I think bilateral trade, frankly, I don't know whether you agree, bilateral trade could be better than 2.7 billion when you consider the enormous social, cultural links between our countries that I've already described. And one reason why I was in favour of leaving the EU, of our country leaving the EU, was that I wanted Britain to widen the horizons of our foreign policy and to reinforce our ties with our friends across the world. Not to leave Europe. We can't leave the EU, That's a different thing from leaving Europe. We couldn't leave Europe unless you towed the United Kingdom out into the middle of the Atlantic and tried to sink it with 24-inch guns. That's not going to happen. We're always going to be part of Europe, and we will continue to champion Pakistan in Europe. But we want to rekindle and re-energize our relations with this country and with others. So I want our global Britain to play an even stronger role on the world stage and really maximize, leverage our assets as the fifth biggest economy on earth, a permanent member of the UN Security Council, and all the other things that you know. And I want the UK and Pakistan to do so much more together. I don't know how you've been able to do without it for so long. That Tesco is shortly opening in Pakistan. I don't know whether you know what Tesco is, but you will discover it's a wonderful supermarket. I see a look of certain. You don't yet know what Tesco is, I can tell, but Tesco is a wonderful Tesco is the William Finches of the 21st century. That's who they are. They're brilliant. They are brilliant entrepreneurs, and you will find in Tesco everything that the heart could desire. So I want those William Finches. I want those British trades people, those entrepreneurs, to think of Lahore when they have goods to sell in Asia. And then to have this is the key point, not just being able to sell into Lahore, but then to have no difficulty at all, like William Finch sending that consignment of indigo snap, ping, like a ricochet off to Aleppo. I want them to be able to sell it to the markets around the region and the world, if that is where the best price is to be found. That was what Pakistan was able, that was what this region was able to achieve in centuries gone by. And I think that if we work hard enough and we work together, I think it can be true again. So let's build a new partnership between the UK and Pakistan, two dynamic, open and trading nations, for the benefit not just of the UK and Pakistan, but for the benefit of the entire world. Thank you very much.